Hi, good morning. Ciao. Welcome to this new episode of the Propeller Podcast. Good morning, Justin.
Good morning. Good morning.
This morning we have Justin McGuire, founder and CEO of MCG Recruiting Agency and Services.
MCG Talent.
Talent. That's the proper human capital now it's called.
MCG Talent is the
Talent.
name.
Fantastic. Is an international agency.
Well, we are Middle East and Asia. So
Okay.
Dubai, Hong Kong, Singapore, and soon to be Riyadh.
That's a new
That's
announce
a new
on the
one.
podcast.
Yeah. There you go.
Fantastic.
We've put coming soon on the website, so we're not being that subtle.
Fantastic. But you are a very well-known person and personality in Dubai for sure. Your charisma comes before you always. And,
Thank you.
Name is always known. Definitely, you've been here for a long time, Justin. And so you deeply know the dynamics of Dubai or the Middle East. And since how long you've been in Asia for the new...
So I left London in 2008 and then did a stint from here between 2008, 2010, and then jumped back between London and Dubai between 10 and 12, and then 12 to 18 in Dubai, and then 18 to 21 in Singapore, and now I'm back in Dubai.
Back in Dubai, fantastic. Welcome back.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
You've been for some time.
Yeah.
Propeller is a podcast that talks about high performance. And our contact started when you declare on LinkedIn, then MCG Talent for the years to come, will be dedicated internally to develop a culture of high performance. Already you are in a tough business. There is the one of human capital and recruiting with extreme peculiarities that make it very complex and articulated. But you took the chance really to declare what is your vision for the next years to come for the people that work for you, for your leaders. Of course, you founded the company. You mentioned in 2008.
Yeah, I moved to Dubai 2008. Founded the business in 2010.
2010, fantastic. So you went through a lot of turmoils. You have a privileged perspective on what's happening in society. You have now an international agency with many branches. So the impact of your people is very spread. It means that you need to observe as well what's happening globally and understanding beforehand the trends of technology, what companies will know and need in the years to come. We know all that's happening in artificial intelligence, for example, is the new buzz trend of the next weeks and months.
It's taken over from metaverse.
It's taken over from metaverse, but you need to start to talk these even before your clients realize their needs. But let's focus about your story first. The most interesting part of MCG Talent comes from you as an entrepreneur, first of all, understanding in 2010 the potential of the recruiting business starting from Dubai. And from nothing, basically, understanding that you could be the person that develop a culture, a new way of doing business, and develop what it is MCG Talent from there. Tell us a little bit from where all this started, and
where all this started. Well, I actually moved into recruitment. I was in the advertising world, much like yourself, and I moved into recruitment just because I couldn't find a recruiter that really understood what digital content marketing was. So that was my first step into recruitment. And then from that, I built a very successful sort of business unit in the UK and then got offered a job in Dubai. And the timings around 2008, as you will know, were, the world was in a bit of a pickle. That's the best way to say it, right? I could see, where our office was in London, it wasn't far from Lehman Brothers. There were people walking out, the streets with their boxes and their their work possessions in their hands. I thought, you know what? I've been called to this place where the cranes are forever moving. Dubai looks like the place to be. Unfortunately, and I've told this story many times, I literally packed the recession into my into the plane, landed, paid way too much money for a studio apartment, and then picked up the newspaper on the Sunday, which was the Times from the UK, which had a picture of the Burj Al Arab sinking in the sea. And then I noticed there were a lot of cars dumped.
Do you still have that paper?
No, I wish, right? Basically Dubai got hit quite hard by what was going on in the global sector. But I stuck it out. I ended up doing a job that I hadn't signed up to do in Dubai, but it actually, I think because I kept this apartment for a year, I had no choice but to stay. But I got eyes and ears on the market. I could see what was going on. Mm-hmm. And after Abu Dhabi had flicked Dubai quite a lot of money and it bailed it out, and the Burj Khalifa, it was going to be called the Burj Dubai, I think, suddenly changed name, and all of a sudden Abu Dhabi had put that money in. I could see that there was opportunity. Quite frankly, I could quickly see that from all the people that had left, Dubai had ambitions to bring them back. Much true to what's going on post-COVID, actually, if you think about it. Dubai didn't want to stop. And when I looked around and looked at the success I'd had, in that brief time opening up a business in the UK for someone else, combined with my experience in the industry, I looked around and thought, well, there's just no one else doing this. Now, at the time, it was really expensive and very complicated to set up a human capital business in Dubai. So I had to be quite creative about how I did it. So I popped back to the UK and did it remote. So I was going backwards and forwards for quite some time. So
you invented also the remote working.
Well, yeah, I guess so.
Digital nomad.
Yeah. Well, I actually, my mum helped me find an office in London, which wasn't very expensive at all. Uh-huh. It was on a very busy street, so it felt like there was hustle and bustle going on, and the floorboards were so thin that the lawyers underneath me, which was pretty packed, you could actually hear their conversation flowing through the floorboards. So when people called me, I think they thought I was in this buzzing office, but it wasn't. It was just because of the thin floorboards.
It all worked beautifully.
And also the problem we had was that when we set up in 2010 is there just wasn't that many candidates here. So I decided that my niche would be the world that I knew. I think now everyone has a niche in recruitment, but you remember back in those days. In Dubai, everyone was the people that got the business were generalists. The traditional PLC firms, the Michael Page, Robert Walters, etc. There really weren't many boutique specialists. So, my idea of being a pure play specialist in the creative and digital world in Dubai, servicing the Middle East, was really unheard of. Now that's great, creating something that's unheard of and being a first mover. But the flip side to that coin is there wasn't really many candidates. And the people that were here before, well, a lot of them had left and dumped their cars at the airports that everyone knew.
So they could...
Well, they just weren't there. So actually, me not being able to afford to set a business up at that time, meaning I had to go back to the UK and then set up as a one-man band there and go backwards and forwards. So I would come out to Dubai to get my clients, go back to get my candidates, was perfectly timed because I'd worked in the industry as well. I had a little black book of contacts I could go to and say, have you thought about moving to the Middle East? Have you thought about moving to the Middle East? And as it happened, I hit the right place at the right time, and I started to generate a great deal of activity and a great deal of noise. LinkedIn, I realized, because I'd come from an advertising background and not many people were really using LinkedIn that sort of powerfully then. I realized that I could make myself, even as a one-man band, utilize the power of social media to my full extent and make myself look much bigger. And job adverts will take away the job. They're actual adverts, right? So I used them as adverts. They were tactical adverts that I would bring out all the time. I made sure they were placed in the right place. And all of a sudden, I just got a name for myself and had saved enough and got in business with a local partner out here and moved out by 2012. With Mrs. McGuire as well. So that was the other thing. It was very handy for finding Mrs. McGuire.
We have always to mention.
Yeah.
No, if there is, is behind this, the origin and the success.
Yeah.
Your story is fantastic. I mean, the little details that you mentioned are incredible. I remember hearing the story about the Under Armour founder.
Yeah.
And he was telling that he had 10 business cards with all the CFO, CEO, was all his name across all the functions, basically. And in this way, of course, you give the perspective of a much bigger operation.
Yeah,
the same app to you.
Very true. My title was director, which I thought was quite ambiguous. It could mean all things to all people. And I had a UK and a UAE phone number, so we looked international
immediately.
Yeah. And actually, I was actually one of my first mentors in life. But the company that I work for as well, they very kindly gave me I used to work for an advertising, sorry. They very kindly gave me the support to get going. So I had, as I said, literally no money. So I presented the idea to my old boss that I would be the perfect person to recruit for his business in the UK. And he agreed to pay me up front for 3 months' work. Well, that gave me the runway, of course, to get going.
Good.
And in that first month, I always knew that with sort of my drive and work ethic that I could outwork anyone. And so I did that job in the UK for him. And then I did the job in Dubai, which I just told you about, which was sourcing talent there. And I did them both together. So I did effectively a 9 to 5 in the UK, being their recruiter for this business. And in between those hours and outside of those hours, I was a Dubai headhunter for my own firm. Now, at the time, the UAE was running on different days of the week. And it was obviously in winter, it's 4 hours, summer, 3 hour time difference. So I could utilize that to my advantage as much as possible. So Sunday, obviously, I could dedicate purely to Dubai and get as much, or to the GCC and get as much out as I could. And then I would wake up really early and work really late. And I actually managed to run the two for 2 years.
It's a very romantic story that I'm sure they use as a language of recruiting for your people as well. So the people that join MCG Talent. You don't like the word resilience, correct? But it seems already we can see the...
I do. I like the word resilience. I think it's... I find the way people use it, though, is quite off the cuff. I think resilience, actually, I truly believe someone's resilient if they've got something to back it up with. I think words are easy when you say that. But I think in business, if you've truly overcome a tough situation, and if you come out the other side with a story to tell and lessons learned, and come out the side and excelled, well, that's resilience.
That's what resilience stands for.
That's resilience, yeah.
But the reason is starting from the origin and seeing a vision unclear, of course, at the start. You didn't have the idea that your agency would thrive. But you saw opportunities and you didn't think much, I guess, beyond a certain horizon. True?
Yeah, I saw opportunity for sure. I knew, having lived in Dubai, even though it wasn't as the script was meant to be. I'd spent 2008, 2010 in Dubai. I'd seen the highs and the lows. I knew that this was a place that was going to catch on. There was too much going for it, quite frankly. It was the oil price at the time was pretty good. Quality of life out there was great. There was no tax. Businesses geographically had an opportunity to talk to Asia and talk to Europe. I believed in what they were saying, and I could see it. So I felt like I'd hit something before many others were even aware. Yeah. And although it was Dubai was quite a tough sell at the beginning. I was competing, particularly if I was trying to take talent out of the UK, for example.
London, the big New York.
Yeah, and they were, people would think New York, Hong Kong, Singapore. They typically were what I came up against. I'd say Dubai, and they, particularly in the creative industry, they'd sort of go, Dubai, God, isn't that where you go to sort of end your career, to take a
like
large salary? Yeah, exactly. And they didn't see it as the dynamic, country and city that it was trying to become. But I could see that. So,
you've been always a great observer as well, holistically, on society, or drivers of changes, and at this I can see it also for the conversation that we have recently of what's happening. And then I think that it gives always an edge on an entrepreneur that it talks all about the industry. You need to understand the output and input of what's happening, especially for human capital.
Yeah, I think, first of all, if you're going to set up a niche recruitment business, you need to be passionate about the niche that you're in, right? So I'm an avid reader, listener of podcasts, not so much when I first set up, because people weren't podcasting then. But, I'm an avid digester of information. Okay. I try not to watch too much doom and gloom on the news, but I try, particularly B2B publications and understanding what's going on. That I think you have to be all over that if you're going to be an expert. But in recruitment, one of the joys of it is that you're talking to people the whole time. And when you're talking to people, and again, recruiting to the Middle East, where you have the ability to talk to people from all different corners of the world, to bring them over here. And in those conversations, which I think is one of the best parts of the job, you discover much more about people's lives. You discover about what's driving them to move. You understand more about where they're coming from, what their motivation factors are.
And if you see a scale, you're able to draw similarities and trends, much
exactly
before the time that
exactly. You are many people. We were our business at the. I'm not going to say forefront, but we were probably one of the main instigators in bringing over a lot of people over from Latin America quite a few years ago into the creative industry here. Now, I got to understand a lot about what was going on, in Latin America at that time, what the value of what inflation was about, what the value of the local currency was compared to, and the benefits of it, the UAE being pegged to the dollar, how much that could change people's lives. The job allowed me to learn that information and understand more what's going on in the world, vis-a-vis when there was complications going on in Europe, when the Greece crisis happened, there were opportunities there for me to understand more what's going on the ground here. And people were interested in candidates from that part of the world. Because it's a build it and they will come philosophy here, which is very different to others. Mm-hmm. If you're tactical about where you approach it, they will come. So
that's fantastic. You mentioned a very important principle that is part of MCG Talent culture, I guess, and you share it also with the people that work for you. No, that means understanding the opportunities and be ready to take it and take advantage of it very fast, isn't it?
Well, our job fundamentally is to find the best talent for the people that we work with, for our clients, right? So we have to do that. We have to find out, map the global market and find out who's the best in the sectors that we're in, but also see when there's an opportunity to, there could be, for example, an agency in the UK, for example, that it's always been incredibly hard to get business out, to get candidates from, or they would never have considered the Middle East. Well, you throw in Brexit, you throw in inflation, you throw in various other factors that are going on right now, and you've got an opportunity to try and extract good talent into an area that's seen as stable and that's got opportunity. So, you have to be worldly aware, you have to be worldly wise if you're going to be really good at this job. And
so in 2010, you took advantage of digital marketing. At the time, digital marketing, creativity in digital was exploding. And after COVID, we know the changes that are happening. Some of them already seems dying, the metaverse vision. And now there is artificial intelligence and it's picking up very fast. We're still early to understand what will be the impact on a bigger scale. But it's clear there is something happening to the creative world, to the digital marketing world, to advertising. That it means that the work as intended now will be completely different.
Yes.
In a recent podcast, we discuss with another guest about the changes of work through the time, the past, the present, and the future of work. And to convince people, you need to understand also how their work will change through the time.
Yeah.
Your life seem a constant. You can't stand still, correct, Justin?
You can never stand still. You have to always, particularly as a business owner, and if you're going to, I've this coming up to 14 years in business, mm-hmm. right? So, and there's not many recruitment businesses that have survived that long, in the Middle East, for sure, and in Asia actually. So, in order to stay, ahead of the game, you need to be aware of tools and technology. But in our industry, let me sort of take a step back here. Job boards were created. Mm-hmm. Everyone said, "Oh gosh, this is the death of the recruiter." Now we can just post a job, and we're going to get applicants direct. What do we need these agencies for? Well, let me tell you now, that didn't work. LinkedIn came along, oh, wow, here is this ultimate global tool. This is going to take out, all the agencies. This is going to actually, completely transform the business. Yes, it did, but it also did it for the better, okay? And if you look at a lot of agencies, they've actually used social media, they've used LinkedIn to their advantage and picked up more business. Yeah. So now, everyone's talking about ChatGPT, and I think one of the most obvious changes that I've seen is people that never used to put LinkedIn posts up have now got these very long, elaborate, clearly, ChatGPT'd LinkedIn posts that have gone out.
You coined just there.
Yeah.
And you.
Well, it's true. It's true.
Yes.
But my point.
So there are opportunities there.
I think in our business, people genuinely trust our knowledge. And actually, our job is to influence. Okay, so we represent our clients, and we have to find them the right candidate, and then influence their decision to make sure that they join that firm. Okay, AI isn't as interesting and as wonderful as it is, does not have the same power as the individual to influence, and I don't think that's going to change. I think all these tools will enhance the job that we do.
In a companion perspective, so like an assistant to your job.
Yeah. I think it can assist. I think it can assist in marketing. I think it can clearly assist in marketing. I think it can assist in writing. You'll probably see fewer grammatical errors in emails. Well, that's no bad thing. What you'll probably see from email marketing is everyone will start getting spammed a lot more with these wonderfully written emails. So probably your response rate will go down. But, I think it can only, a lot of the time I've learned to embrace technology, not to be scared by it. And particularly in recruitment, which is so reliant on the influence of the individual, I stand pretty firm in the fact that I think we're going to be just fine.
Fantastic. You have a very critical job that you are in between two counterparts, clients, on the other side, candidates. There is a human factor on both sides. Then you mention all the dynamics that impact technology, changes to the need of the market, a crisis. The economical aspect of it, and how these influence decisions. The people of MCG Talent, they need to basically understand holistically all these factors and keep in mind what is the transaction value of what they're doing. You mentioned that high performance is the principle that you want to put at the core of MCG Talent from now.
Yeah.
And your story support that. I mean, the story of resilience, story of taking advantage of very quick opportunities tactically.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit of how you select the people that belong to MCG Talent? Yeah. And some of them, through the time, of course, through loyalty, they become also leaders in your organization. So they, of course, become responsible of P&L and economical results as well. How, from where you start,
Well, I think there are certain parts of the job, if I'm employing a CFO for our company, I want to make sure this person's got the right qualifications. So
that's important.
That for me is important, right?
Definitely know the recruitment business.
Yeah. I think so. From an operational perspective in our business, could be marketing and finance. We like to see that someone's got a track record in doing the do, and has got the necessary qualifications they need. From a recruiting perspective, I think this is such a it's a people-driven business, and I think it's also, there is a commercial side to it. It is a consultative sales business. And in my experience, the best people that we've ever brought on board and the people that have succeeded the most are those that are genuinely resilient. Now, I know it's that word that we said before that we touched on that you didn't think I liked, but actually I do.
You changed my idea now.
I like understanding people's story. So whenever I interview someone, have a conversation with them, I like to know about their family. I like to know about their backstory. I like to know about situations in their life where they've had to overcome something and how they dealt with it, how they handled it. Be that personal, be that business, because those sorts of people are the ones that can thrive in a recruitment job. Because, you know, it is one where you're constantly faced with rejection. It is one where the candidates that you're talking to, they have lives. You know, you are trying to find a job for them that fits their life, that fits their hopes, dreams, ambitions. But if they've got families, it fits their families' ambitions as well. So you need to be a well-rounded individual. You need to be worldly aware. You need to be really passionate about the niche that you work in as well. But you need to have a story. You need to have a burning ambition to succeed, and you need to have very thick skin. The thick skin element is something that I've learned over the past sort of 14 years.
Okay. That's definitely one of your... let's call it strength. So we use it, we remain in the language of... You're very collected. It means, you know, you really give the time to listen to the other person. You seem very focused and concentrated.
Yeah, I think...
You don't seem distracted, you know, in the moments that you give...
The time that I give individuals, be those colleagues, be those candidates that I work with and clients, I'm pretty sure that I'm an open, honest person. I think if you talk to most people that I've been through a story with, and probably in my friendship group, they would say the same, and certainly in my family. I think you have to be straight with someone. You have to say it how it is, because, you know, if I put you in a job and you're very unhappy, I am ultimately responsible for your unhappiness.
So you feel
and I feel that's a heavy burden that you have to have on an individual. And the worst thing can happen, and this is something that's quite typical of the markets that we're in. So let's call it Hong Kong, Dubai, Singapore. They are big. They look like big hustle bustle cities from the outside, but actually they're quite tiny. Okay, and doing a good job for someone goes a long way. But equally, doing a bad job for someone, word spreads very quickly. If you don't treat your colleagues with respect, if you have to exit someone from a business, if you don't do that properly, if you put someone in a job, then they're not right for the job. Well, and you move them out here, you need to make sure you can try and help them go back. These are human beings.
At the end, yes.
These are human beings that you're talking to.
And for sure, you made mistakes, sorry for using this word, in selecting people as well. Someone maybe in the long run didn't show the characteristics that you mentioned. Yeah. You feel they're key to resist for so much long in the business. Yeah,
look, I think I'm a business owner as well. Uh-huh. So if I'm putting someone, expensive, a senior hire, or our team are placing an individual into a company and they're not doing what they've set out to do, and that company is burnt cash, is feeling pain as a result of it, well, they're not going to work with us again. So I need to work with them to get that resolved. Vis-a-vis, if we've moved someone out and, there's something that's happened in their life that's meant the situation they were in pre-moving out is different to the one when they've arrived and they have to go back. Well, you need to help the individual solve that problem, and you need to help the business solve that problem. Mm-hmm. Everyone has a story, and I can tell you now in the 14 years, in fact, even longer, in my 20 odd years of working life, everyone has a story, and you need to face those. Let's be honest with each other. If something happens in your family, if something happens with one of your close friends, etc. Well, that might change your situation, and you've got to adapt to that.
Uh-huh. So digital had brought to the idea of recruiting, or a perception, mentioning more correctly, of a superficial approach to people, something that is just transactional, and I'm speaking on the side of candidates, because everyone is a candidate at a certain point in time in his life. And so with this idea of a very fast transaction, you never had the chance for a candidate to express himself the challenges. You are pushed to, of course, to polish your story as much as possible. And so putting aside everything that can impact the reality of your search, and why, for example, you're so pressured in finding a new role or a new job. You're saying that you try to understand these aspects, correct? You try to give attention because they will explain much more of the choices at the end.
You have to try and, I think what's changed, and because I'm old enough and I've seen sort of pre LinkedIn and post LinkedIn, right? I think, when I was trained in this business, I was trained by a fantastic firm in the UK. I was trained to be a headhunter, right? And as a headhunter, that was when, you actually had to search, you get a mandate from a client and you have to seek that individual. And you have to seek that individual typically through referrals, typically through who's the best person for this job.
Will be CEOs, roles for specific.
From probably, let's call it mid to senior level. Because when I first started, I wasn't doing CEOs. I would be lying to you if I said that, okay? But my point is that you needed to use your network to get you closer to the right person for the job. And it was a very personal experience. A lot of conversations had to happen. It was all about understanding who did X, Y, and Z at the right time and who would they recommend if the person you're talking to wasn't the right person. And eventually you'd find that target 3-4 people. Well, now flip that on its head, what you've got now. Now you can apply for a job, as easy as you can, buy some bananas in the supermarket. You just press a button, okay? And what it's done, I think, is it's taken the personal element out of recruiting.
Yeah.
It's also put quite a lot of pressure on the agencies because if we, we are expected, our turnaround times and the pressure that we have from clients are far shorter. We're expected to deliver shortlists with all detailed information, etc., as quickly as possible. And yes, we can do it, but you see where I'm coming from.
Yes, absolutely.
The personal element, particularly the war of talent, and in our regions where particularly in the digital space where there isn't many people, where tools and tech, we're not talking about London or New York where there's an abundance of folks, but actually Singapore, Hong Kong, Dubai, and the other markets that we work in, when there's a new piece of technology, well, the reality is there's not going to be that many people. You stick a job advert up, you're going to be really lucky if that right person is going to press, going to accept. I mean, let's be frank, it's probably not going to happen. Yeah,
it's a matter of statistics.
Exactly, but you're still expected to find people as quickly as you would say. Let's call it an account manager. And the other thing is that we have to often find people from around the world who are going to be right for it as well. So that takes a little bit longer. And so that's why I think that bit that I learned in the early days of recruiting actually served us quite well, because we're not just reliant on job boards. We're not just reliant on sticking
referrals and
network. And that's what I teach the guys to do, that you have to use your network to find your network. And that works for bringing in business as well and bringing in new clients.
So you said that in headhunting, you gave a lot of space for understanding the story of a person and what are the motivations beyond the...
Correct, yeah.
It's still done in recruiting? So your people do a little search, they try to understand what's happening. Yeah. The tools will be digital tools, I guess,
Now we've got, obviously we've got database, we've got... we've had a system in place for 14 years, so that there is a track record of people that we have spoken to before.
Okay.
Obviously, we've got a number of case studies, people that we've placed over the years as well. So we have a good network here. There's a lot of people in Hong Kong, Singapore, the UK have moved to other parts, different corners of the world as well, right? So we've got their network that we can tap into. So we've got the power of or the beauty of history, having a track record
that we
can lean on. But when I first learned how this craft, it was with people.
Well,
it was with people that moved investment bankers, right? So the business that I set up a division within, because digital recruitment there weren't many people doing it back in 2006, right? So, and the person that took, that agreed to take a punt on me, if you want to call it that, from someone with no recruitment experience to come in and set up this digital vision. Well, the roots of their business were in investment banking, in the financial services sector.
Makes all sense.
Well, yeah. But they were the only headhunters I knew. I sort of went knocking on doors, to be honest with you. And this office was opposite the Bank of England. You know, you walked into the office, there was a knight in shining armor. It was real old school, you know. But these guys moved very wealthy investment bankers. Now, they weren't applying for jobs, okay? They had a little window to move them after bonus season. And they had to spend a good 6 months serenading, dancing with that person, getting to know them, to then strike at the opportunity when there was a window, okay? Well, if you think about that, the people around me, I was learning from them. I was learning exactly how to have patience with someone, how to, you know, cultivate that relationship. And eventually, that's what we used. And that's what we use in the digital world. And that's what I've tried to teach our team in time as well. It's not to be, not to be so transactional. Is to try and make it a personal thing. Now, as I've done this for longer, I've moved more senior people. Okay, so
more and more senior.
Yeah, I'm still quite hands-on.
And the critical aspect of the right placement becomes quantified as well, I guess. No.
Well, when I move people now, the jobs that I work on, you know, most of the time people are married. Most of the time, you know, I'm moving a family. Or most of the time I'm moving a family within the UAE. And now there's a number of factors we need to think about.
You need to think about it, of course.
But being a father of 3 and married, I can relate to that. And I think what people like is the fact that I make it very clear, you know, if I'm talking to a family, the first thing I do is tell them I have 3 small kids. Tell them
they
about
will feel the
so
empathic connection to you.
Exactly.
So you are an influencer.
Well,
let's so practically.
Maybe. Yeah.
But it means you're able to influence people. You know? So really connecting the dots.
Yes.
And that's something that I can, you know, absolutely recognize in you as a skill in the conversation that we had, able to create connections between different contexts. Because at the end, you know, the basic needs of humans are always remain the same.
Exactly.
Safety is the first one. So we want, you know, to have a safe life and happy. So pressure is definitely an element that is in your job. And so the people, MCG, will coin
the
also.
MCGers.
The MCG doesn't exist. But so you deal with constantly with people, of course, you know, they're under pressure to perform. You need to be the person that maintain the ultimate calm, in a sense. Then, you know, they need to make sure that they see the things, you know, as they are collected in a collected way. You must have a lot of people that come to you and say, you know, what's happening, you know, and maybe someone that just started as a recruiter. And so the panic kicks in, you know, maybe some people they will shell in, you know, instead of, I need the one, you know, they recognize the situation, correct or not. How much you are involved actually on the singular placement at the moment?
I'm still quite hands-on. Okay. I mean, it's a bit of a. I do the senior. You know, I get involved with senior hires, but I also spend quite a lot of time working with the team.
Okay.
During their searches. So I think, you know, how I can help them get better is to walk through the process with them.
At the start or through all different moments?
It depends on the level of experience of the individual. But the people that we bring on, and particularly in the markets that I know very well, you know, the reality is a lot of people out here kind of know me or know of me. So my influence can quite often help people with their searches as well. So I do get involved, and I think it's important that I do that because it keeps me clear on what's going on, what people are saying, the battles that they're currently facing. Are they the same as what they were when I used to do it? I can tell you now they are. With all the tools and technology, it's still the same. Still the same. But I try and help guide people through the process. You know, but
so you will spend with them. You will spend time on the phone. Cold calls are still there. Cold calls to clients. Or
I think. Well, so it's interesting that you say that because actually I think one of the things that I am doing a lot is trying to automate our recruitment business as much as possible with systems, tools, processes. I think the old-fashioned way, I've told you about how personal I was with clients, but very much in those early days, the recruitment businesses that I worked for, you got your clients by cold calling, and I think now actually new business a lot of it can be, I think all good recruiters are actually marketeers. So I feel very privileged that I've come from a background in the marcoms world, because I actually think now the best recruiters are marketers as well.
But recently, the people at the agency, I don't know if it was actually much scripted. It was, but you launched a series online that was super funny.
Yeah.
No, and it means really that you had the capability also to not taking yourself too much seriously. But sharing that at the end is a human.
Absolutely.
So, but it was very funny. So I invite everyone really to look on LinkedIn because it was super funny.
Yeah. Well, I think we're people, right? And it's an incredibly personable industry. It's an industry where and it's very competitive. There's lots of different recruitment businesses in this world. So what's going to make you choose us over the other people? Well, it's the people, right? It's a service business. Yeah. So you need to get to know the people. And the way you get to know the people is through content marketing and through understanding, that they know what they're talking about, and videos, blogs, all those things. We have a videographer as part of the business.
Okay.
We've got I'm investing in our marketing team as much.
And in yourself as well. I mentioned to you that maybe, because now we're starting to talk, of course.
Yeah.
But I had the impression that you're much more out there personally, with your image as well.
Yeah.
Is this true?
100% true. And I'm,
You want your people to do the same. You want to be exposed, because at the end, it all counts.
I agree. But I also, if I'm brutally honest with you, I'm 43 now. I've done this for a while, and a lot of what I've learned, I didn't learn at school. There's nothing out there that teaches. There is no playbook on how to be an entrepreneur.
How to live life?
Yeah, but there is, your parents, your parents help guide, push you along. You learn from the good and you learn from the bad, right?
Yeah.
But actually, the playbook that I followed out here in Dubai, Hong Kong, and Singapore, having a business partner, growing a business, riding through multiple downturns and waves and stuff like that, there is actually there's no go-to area for that. And I'm actually thinking about, what else I can do that can help the headhunting business, but also a fresh challenge for me as well. And I personally think that I would like to get into the world of coaching, mentoring, and teaching, and helping teach people. We've got dreams, hopes, and ambitions. How I did it, and I can help guide them and how they can do it. Why? Well, I think that will just assist our brand as MCG. I think it will help drive the entrepreneurial economy, which I'm really passionate about.
And opportunities as well, because you never know.
It will create opportunities. Yeah, it will. The best people that I have in the business are many entrepreneurs themselves, right? Okay. And if I can create a family where feeling like that, be connected to those people still, whether they stay with us or whether they go on for a new challenge, but still be involved in them, well, that's your final goal. Yeah, that's that's something I would love to have, actually, because the old way of doing things was you'd have great people, they work with you for 3-4 years, and then if they're quite often in recruitment, they then become your competitors, and it's a real shame, right? Because you've developed such great relationships with them as well. Yeah. And as I've got older, A, I got less angry about that, but B, I actually thought, wouldn't it be great if there was a way that you could stay connected, that if I could coach or mentor them, if I could be part of that business enterprise, if I could actually, rather than having a conversation saying, hey, Justin, I want to go on and do my own thing, that, hey, Justin, I want to go and do my own thing with you. All right. And that creates a very different environment.
Absolutely. Yeah. Elevate you on a different perspective, to just be an entrepreneur, that you're working for yourself and for your personal financial gains or family, but someone really that, has a vision of changing the industry. Changing means, for the better, but everyone has an opportunity. So this part of the idea of high performance means everyone takes the chance, wherever they are, being a marketeer, of opportunities of understanding the market changes. but some people, they will be shelling at this point. Not everyone will be welcome to be pushed towards an outer space. Did you formalize this new idea, or I don't know if it was new, but you explicited.
Yeah, I'm always a great believer in sport analogies. Right?
Oh, that's fantastic, because it's one of the languages of Propeller as well.
Yeah, I just always think whenever you look at a team, a great, like in the UK, you look at Manchester City right now. They're consistently performing well. Or if you look at some of the great sporting teams of the past, everyone has looked to their left or looked to their right and thought, I want to go into battle with that person. That is the person. That is the best person for that job, right? And in business, the worst thing that can happen is complacency. Now, I've found over the years that complacency is the devil. I mentioned to you earlier when we were talking before that I think Dubai, as lovely as it is, has a real ambitious side. You can seek out and find some of the most successful, ambitious, driven individuals you'll ever meet here. But you can also have a real underbelly of complacency here, where people are paid quite well and
comforts and
all the creature comforts that they get, and they sit back and they lose their edge. Now, one thing that I'm absolutely driven to in our business is to have people that haven't lost their edge.
Okay.
And I'll be quite ruthless in saying that. That if I think someone has lost their edge,
I will make a
change. I will make a change because we have to be as good as, we have to look around and we all have to think we're playing tennis with Roger Federer. All right. We're going to have to be at the top.
You choose, you pick up average play.
You have to be, because our business is tough, and it's deeply competitive. Everyone, particularly if you're in an environment where you're sat next, you spend quite a lot of time with your colleagues, right? And in our business, we're hybrid, but reality is you spend a lot of time with these people. Yeah, you need to be inspired by them. I saw this LinkedIn post last week, and I thought it was brilliant. And it said, in order to keep your A's, you need to remove your C's, because if you don't, your A's will leave. I think that person built £100 million business, and that was a really powerful thing to say. And that's the truth, isn't it? If you go into work and you know that the people that you're around are the best at what they do, or giving their best every day, you're just going to be inspired by them. I need to be inspired by them as much as they need to be inspired by me.
That's wonderful, Justin. It means really setting. It's all about the vision.
Yeah.
At the start, I'm sure that it wasn't clear, the vision in your mind, but now it is, I guess, much more than before. Do you want your kids to go recruiting? That's a very straightforward question.
Do I want my kids? No, I'm completely, and this may sound really, I want my kids to do what brings them joy and happiness. I actually wasn't ever pushed into. My mum was fantastic. I told you my father passed away when I was pretty young. So mum was great in the sense that she just, number one, I think she always just thought whatever I was going to do, I was going to be great at, and but that she just gave me that feeling, and what a wonderful feeling to have. What a gift to have. So I didn't ever feel the pressure to be forced into something, and that was very, a relief, should we say, in the sense that when I went out and went to my first day at work, and she just thought, well, you're going to be really good at it, and that's and when I came and told her that I'm going to leave the world of advertising, because I can't remember if I told you this, I did this, I resigned with no reason to no reason when I left the world of advertising. I basically knew that I needed a fresh challenge, so I got a map of the world. And I literally spun it, and my finger landed on Honduras in Central America. And I decided to go and live there for a year.
Honduras, yeah.
And
I remember that you mentioned this.
Yeah, there you go. And Mum was like, well, you just go for it. You'll be great at it, She was a bit upset that I'd be away for a while, but she thought I'd make a success of it. And
is your mum still with you? Is part of your?
Mum's very much. Yeah. Mum's around very much.
She must say, "I told you."
You know what? She never does, but she always reminds me of the desk she bought me
for the first.
For my first office.
That's beautiful. It's all part of your story now. No? That again, looking back, you can.
Yeah.
draw some connection that they weren't clear.
I think everyone has a point, something they can draw back to, a moment in their life where they made a decision which actually snowballed into many other decisions.
And they go towards
and they go towards where they are now. And for me, that decision was actually that day I decided to resign and looked in the mirror and said to myself, I'm going to go and do something completely different. Because moving to Honduras actually gave me, I felt very brave making that decision. And actually, when I came back to London afterwards, I got more job offers than I had before. People were fascinated by what I'd done. So that when I got a call in 2008 and said, hey, do you fancy this job in Dubai? Well, I'd done Honduras. What's going to be more scary than that, right? And I didn't,
definitely not Dubai.
Yeah. Well, I moved here having never ever been to the Middle East. I literally,
like many people.
I walked out the airport in September and just got hit by a wave of heat and thought, what is this? But Honduras gave me that bravery, and I think when you look back on all my decisions I've made, that one is the focal point.
We are having, unfortunately, close to the end of this beautiful chat. I feel that really should last much longer. My last question to you is that now reach a certain point in time, of course, the success of having built a business that is thriving and is being resilient means that you are setting the culture very deeply of MCG Talent, but also you as a person, you're defining very well which are your strengths and which one of these you want to share with your people and which stories you want to use to communicate these. All the idea is to reach high performance. It means very constant, high results. But you change as a person as well.
Yeah.
Not correct for the time?
Yeah.
It means you need to reevaluate constantly.
I think I said this to the guys in the end of the year that I have a fantastic wife. I've got 3 beautiful kids. And hopefully I've got a life because a lot of my staff are a bit younger than me, right? Hopefully I've got a life that they can aspire to have. And I don't mean this in a wanky way or anything like that. No, but the way I behave, what they see outside of work has to be something that they want to aspire to have. Because how I hold myself, if I held myself, if I came into work and I was slick as you can get and, made the business tons and tons of money, but outside of that, my life was a disaster. You'd find me, walking out, chatting up girls left, right, and centre.
Well, what's the deal there?
Divorced, you'd look at it and go, "What's the point in this?
Yeah.
Why would I want to be? What is the point in working that hard if that's what the end result is?"
Yeah.
So I think you have to give off. I'm a human being. I'm not faultless. I got, and I share my pains with some of the staff, and obviously I sometimes on LinkedIn I talk about some of the things I struggle with.
Correct. Yes, you're very open. And,
But the overriding feeling that I want the people that work with and for me and the partners that we've got within the business in terms of our clients, etc. I want them to know that I hold myself to very high standards, and I'm not ashamed to show that.
That's fantastic. You mentioned one of the next goals, or actually no goal, is going to happen on the opening of the office in Riyadh in Saudi.
Yes.
What else for MCG, if you can share, of course?
I think naturally our business in the Middle East is being, like with most companies who are based in Dubai right now, they're having to do a lot of business in Saudi. So
because of the drive,
the ambitions,
with characteristics and dynamics very similar to Dubai, no?
Actually, yes, but also I find a lot of similarities with what I learned living in Singapore.
Okay,
and the reason being is obviously in the UAE there isn't the population really to sustain some of the ambitious growth that the country has. So they rely on that that build it and they will come philosophy. In Saudi, it's quite different. You've got a very young, ambitious population. You've got 30 million people. You have a population that can fulfill a very high amount of the jobs that they need.
The growth. Yeah.
Same in Singapore, right? Very, very well educated, group of people, 5 million people, very well educated country, a country that looks after its individuals, and a country that wants to put Singaporeans first and put Singaporeans into great jobs. Well, that playbook I find quite similar in Singapore to what's to Saudi, and that's what I think. Having that experience and having fingers in those different pies really helps you understand what's going on there. Yeah, and it helps you understand how businesses will think there, and also how you can provide a valuable service to them with that at the heart of it. So not just thinking you can bring an expat in for everything.
That's fantastic. We arrived to the end of the chat today, Justin. I really hope, and thanks a lot for sharing your story and the key aspects and moment of what is your vision for MCG Talent, also the past. And now we arrive to this point. I really hope that inspires people to, as you say, to see complacency as the final, mistake to avoid, and having the hunger that you constantly have, but also the best of your profile and the strengths that I've been able to see. High performance means really being able to connecting the dots and see where is the next, direction, but based on what we've done before. Sometimes there is the idea of change as a constant distraction of what happened before, because maybe there's been a failure. But in reality is, okay, what are the 2-3 things that I can reapply for the future? And you seem a fantastic example of this. So thanks a lot for that, and for the time to dedicate it to this. For everyone, I invite to subscribe to the podcast and follow the next release, in particular the one with Justin, that will happen in the next weeks. And I hope there will be a second part, maybe of the podcast, to talk about the future. So thanks again for your time, Justin.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
And I wish you to everyone a fantastic day ahead. And again, we'll speak soon.